You recently were quoted by saying the economy was sick long before the virus infected it. What do you see happening here these last few months?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, what I was starting to say is in your intro, you mentioned that I'm a frequent guest on a lot of these financial stations, and that's not the case anymore. I was a frequent guest before the 2008 financial crisis, and then for maybe a year or two subsequent to that crisis. But then they pretty much stopped inviting me on. So I'm really, you can hear me on YouTube now, on my, my own YouTube channel or the Schiff Report, my podcast. But I'm rarely on any of these networks that used to have me on a regular basis. I mean, I come on One American News once in a while or RT, but the CNBCs and the CNNs and Fox News, those networks don't really have me on anymore.
And why is that, Peter?
Well, probably because they don't want the truth. They want people to come out and just tell their audience how great everything is and how the U.S. economy is fantastic and the guys at the Fed are geniuses and there's nothing to worry about. Everything is great. Just buy bonds, buy stocks, and don't worry. And I think part of it, too, is that I've been warning about the crisis that we're heading for a long time. And I guess sometimes they think, well, you've been saying this stuff for a while. And they forget how long I was warning about the 2008 financial crisis before that one finally hit. Now, I would admit that I've been warning about this one even longer, but it's going to be a much worse crisis. And in fact, what's happened right now with COVID-19, that's not the problem. I mean, I'm not going to diminish the fact that, yes, there is a health threat there. That's a problem. But the economic problem is not COVID-19. It's not even the shutdowns and the quarantines or the social distancing. That's a problem. But the bigger problem is not COVID-19. That COVID-19 is the pin, maybe. What's really the problem is the bubble that the pin helped prick. And in fact, I think the air was coming out of the bubble anyway. And so what happened was COVID just put a gaping hole into a bubble that was already leaking air. And so now the air has come gushing out. But I think that the financial collapse that I had been warning about for a decade is now much closer because of COVID-19. But because we succeeded in kicking the can down the road for a decade, the crisis is now going to be much bigger than the one that I contemplated back then. I think the dollar's demise is going to be far greater. I think the probability of actual hyperinflation is higher now than it was then. So I think the stakes are higher. I think ultimately the profits that people will make betting against the dollar, betting on gold-related equities, and basically avoiding U.S. assets, I think the profits are going to be a lot bigger now as well because it's a bigger bubble. A lot more air is going to come out. That means a lot more gain for the people who are properly positioned.